Hi, I'm Bobby Bourbon. Welcome to the. What, I'm not in this episode? Oh, man. Well, wait, TK's in the episode? He's less toxic than me, right? Welcome to the XWF Podcast. Please enjoy for your listening pleasure.
Welcome in to the XWF Podcast. My name is Dylan, also known as Dolly Waters, Barry the Bashy guy. This is the first podcast the XWF has produced in some 20 months. And so let me introduce some what will be familiar faces moving forward on this program. First and foremost, Mr. Mark Flynn.
Viva la revolution, baby. Yes. Let's do it.
Indeed. Yes. And the one, the only, Thunder Knuckles.
Oh, I think you got it covered.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thunk? So, guys, going back, this was a sort of a staple for the XWF for a number of years. We had generous hosts such as Chris Page, dedicated a lot of time to making this a really cool program. Also, Gator and Ned K, Bobby Bourbon, and plenty more that we could mention. But very excited to be bringing this back. And sort of let's talk about, and Flynn, let's start with you. What have you viewed as the purpose of these podcasts?
Oh, sure. It's an opportunity, in my opinion, to sort of get a little bit of thought out there regarding the game we all love, a little bit of commentary, a little bit, shine a little spotlight on some things that are easy to miss. I've talked with other people, and it's very easy to just read your own matches and sort of like be very insulated in your own little pocket. But there's a whole lot of stuff, whole lot of different gears. We've got churring and whirring, and there's an opportunity to sort of take a bird's eye view of everything going on and how it all sort of fits together thread by thread.
You know, that's a great point. I know for me personally, when I came back to the XWF, I guess it was 2021, and it was right around the time that this podcast kicked off. I found it to be just a great sort of mechanism for which at the time it was Vinny and Theo, and with the help of Chris Page and then No Good Bastards here hosting, a great way to sort of get a mechanism for feedback, and like you said, sort of that bird's eye view of what could be overlooked in the Fed, and it gives us an opportunity to sort of touch on all of that, and so fingers crossed that we can build up some of that momentum and steam that was there before, and I think we will, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a fun ride. I've been really looking forward to it. TK, for you, sir, what are your thoughts on the maybe not necessarily the history of the podcast, but what it means for you?
It usually means a lot more work that I don't want to do, but I think it gives a spotlight on people who don't normally get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Indeed.
Those top guys almost feel unattainable, right? Like back when Alias and Mark were just running shit. You didn't see the undercard as much. You know what I mean? And to focus on the lower end of the card, I enjoyed.
Well said, sir. So yeah, I mean, moving forward, this format might, kind of change and evolve. So we're looking forward to what that's going to look like. At least I am, and thinking about, how do we get more of the community engaged with the product overall, and something that they'll be interested in listening to. So hopefully, I'll try my best not to bore everyone to death, and keep the momentum rolling. But speaking of cards, overall, we've got a heater staring us down in the face coming up 7 days from now. Rebellion.
Imminent.
Imminent.
Fenway Park, Boston, Massachusetts, home of the Revolution. Boston. I will tell you a little peek behind the scenes. People really wanted this in Haiti for the biggest revolution of all time. Couldn't get anybody on the phone to book an arena in Haiti, so we had to do it in Boston. Unfortunately, much prefer Haiti.
Yeah, Haiti would have been better, but I think Boston's pretty close to Haiti. So
Morally, ethically, yes, 100%.
Correct.
Indeed. And on that show, I mean, we've got quite the cast booked, including 2 of the last 4 XWF Star of the Months. You've got Madison Dyson on the card. You've got Justin York on the card. So, guys, I mean, all bets are off with the level of talent that we've got lined up for the show. Speaking of those 2, something we're going to do sort of moving forward with the podcast is do our best to include the stars of the month of whatever particular episode we're on.
Of course, if they're willing. They're not strong-armed.
Yeah, that's right. And so with that, tonight we do have joining us the January Star of the Month, Madison Dyson, and the April Star of the Month, Justin York. And then later in the program, we will be joined by the February Star of the Month, or pardon me, the March Star of the Month, Kieran King. So very excited to have those folks on. They'll sort of walk through this journey with us as we chat up Rebellion and get some insight from these fine folks and sort of what makes them tick and what they think about the Fed and their journey in e-Fedding overall. So yeah, have I covered it enough, and have I been, as pleasantly awkward as possible in this opening sort of rant?
Oh, off the charts.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
you're just
100% pleasant. Nailing it.
just the best, Dilly. Just the best.
Oh, good deal. So with that, let me introduce again and say hello to Madison Dyson.
Applause.
Do I give an applause?
Yeah, I would try. Yeah.
I would just like to say I was definitely strong-armed into this.
He was definitely strong-armed.
I was as well, but sometimes you don't have options,
When you got guns like these, when you've got these mighty pythons like that I possess, it's hard not to, even if it's unintentional, just to be strong-arming people all the time. So
going to need you to put your shirt back on.
I know. So yeah, glad you're here, dear friend, role played with for a long time. So good to have you on, chat you up. And then Mr. Justin York, welcome.
Made it just in the nick of time.
Indeed, you did. We were going to boot you out, man, if you weren't here any sooner. We were just going to close you.
Right.
We were just going to close you off. All right. So real quick, I want to do something here that was this is off the cuff, but we did get a couple of questions submitted from some folks in the community for some of you guys on the call here tonight. So this question is for all you guys from the beloved Aurora, and I'll start with you, Madison Dyson. What's one match that has stuck with you personally through your career?
Can it be any character? I'm going to assume it can be any character.
Any character, sir. Yes, sir.
I think probably the NG #1 versus Jim Cadis the first time we ran that.
Oh boy,
definitely stuck with me.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I love me some Jim Cadis.
I think everyone in this room did. Still do. Would love to have him around. In some regard, right? And take me back to that. So that must have been, what year was that? 2017. or 2018.
Yeah,
potentially.
somewhere around there.
You guys were really
Somewhere.
at that time. You all were probably with along with like Bruce Springsteen. I think maybe there's a couple others. Chris Chaos, sort of the top of the food chain in XWF at that time.
And Jim in particular was, I don't know, I think a lot of people avoided facing him, just because he was so good at it. He was so dominant.
Yep.
I mean, I loved facing him though. I had such a blast every time I read his work. So funny. Just I laughed uproariously every single time I read his shit. Loved the guy. I just loved the guy.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, talk about an absolute just a human buzzsaw when it came to a shoot, and you never really knew what you were going to get, but you knew it was going to be brutal, and it was going to be fun to engage with in a back and forth. You talk about the difference of a matchup, 2018, anytime the last, when we're actually doing multiple role plays. I don't know what in the hell is wrong with us. We're dropping 6 or 7 role plays against one another. I shudder at the thought of doing that these days.
I think in that match I dropped like 7 or 8. Might have been 7 or 8. Yeah, absolutely absurd.
So I guess same question to you, Mr. York, and this doesn't have to be limited to your time. What's been a short and really impressive time here in XWF so far. So any match, I guess, really throughout your career, any character that you want to that has stuck with you.
Instantly, there's only one that pops to my head when you ask that question, and it would be in 21 in IW against Chris Page the first time, because at that time I probably was just returning to the game after an extended period, and that was the first time I really had to give a lot of care and attention to my work, and facing somebody of that caliber, you really gotta bring your best. And so I'd say that would be the match that stuck with me still to now. It still gets discussed. The role play limits were murderous. We rolled like 10K 3 times against each other. Yeah, that would be the one.
Yeah, the Hall of Famer, XWF Hall of Famer Chris Page. I mean, we've talked about him a little bit already in the episode. Yeah, that's another absolute heater of a promo. Every time you'd have to square off against that guy. I think I've done it a handful of times probably, and I don't know that I ever was able to beat Chris Page. So yeah, that's I can imagine that being one that would stick with you, especially that early on when you're coming back. And I guess hell, why not TK? Let me kick that same question from Aurora over to you, because I think it's a good one. I think it's a topic that folks in listening would be interested in. What's a match that stuck with you throughout your career?
Well, there's only one that I could say that. Well, I got 2 that I could say that everybody was watching.
No, you only get one. No, I'm teasing.
I know I only get one, but the one that pretty much springboarded everything from that point would be Robert Maine.
Oh boy, don't I remember that match? Flynn, you remember that match too?
Yes,
Was
absolutely
A
legendary.
lot of build up and a lot of back and forth heat. You know what I mean?
Well, that was
so
fun.
It drew a lot of interest into. It was just a regular. It was, but like, if you tell me at the time with the people here what match everybody was waiting to watch, it was that one.
Yeah, I mean that's when you talk about having heat on a match, that's that was definitional in regards to that. And I think what I can remember at that time, I think there were a lot of folks who were maybe incredulous toward what you were capable of, and take nothing away from Robert Maine. I know he put out great work for that as well, but that was a real, to me, what I recall as a real coming out moment for you, Mr. Knuckles. That was a big win, and I think the whole Fed was kind of secretly like rooting, rah rah, go TK, because I mean Robert was so good at that time, so I think kudos to you. That was a good one.
Yeah, you got to pull that sleeping giant, you know?
Indeed, indeed. Mr. Flynn, same question.
I have been probably telling with Flynn a continuation of what happened Relentless 2021 with Flynn versus Thad. He has not forgiven anybody. He is still very upset about how it ended. Probably the proudest work I've done is between Flynn and Thad. Just two people that came at this match with completely different worldviews. Thad was just like, hey, I need somebody quasi famous enough for my Relentless match to matter. And Flynn wanted to die in the ring with his whole heart. And that it played out how it played out. I still am very proud of the work. I think the match is very well written, and Flynn will never work through the trauma of what happened.
You talk about the work that you guys did through. I mean, that back and forth between you guys was some of the best work I think I remember seeing up to that point. And then the matches. Did you guys write that match together? Sit down and write that?
Thad's really yes. He likes to, when he's got a big one that he trusts the other person. He'll be like, "Hey, I'm gonna write about like 1,500 words, and then you write, and then we'll just keep going back and forth, trading momentum until it's completely unreadable, and people have scrolled and seen it's too many words, and then gone on to the next match." But I think it's a good read, and I think it continued. Both the stories we were trying to convey, because Thad was doing things like getting into the crowd and pie facing Oprah because it was in Chicago, and Flynn was beating the side of his knee with his fist because his body was failing him in the moment that he needed it most, and it just sort of continued in that. Yes, it was.
That was my first exposure to Mark, because that's when you first came back, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That was my first exposure to Mark, and I was like, wow, this is fucking good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it come to think of it, it was really partly mine as well. Because I think we passed each other just briefly, maybe in 2014. I remember seeing. Well, at the time I didn't know North Korean war criminal, but I remember him briefly when I first came around, seeing some stuff from him, and then going back and looking at the Mark Flynn account and stuff like that. So yeah, and what a way to sort of what a coming back party for you that must have been. So definitely a memorable match. I could fully understand why that one sticks with you. Let me jump to another question that came in. This one is in particular. This is from Addie, directed to Dyson. She wants to know if you can do an impression of Madison shooting, the voice and everything, right here, right now.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't catch it.
Yeah, Addie wants to know if you can do an impression of Madison Dyson shooting, the voice and everything.
Oh, absolutely not. I literally am not that quick on my feet in real life.
It's
I
all
can't.
planned.
Sorry.
It's all planned garbage.
I love the spirit of I love the spirit of the question, Addie. But yeah, geez, I don't think anybody.
It is beyond my abilities. I apologize.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. And then one for everybody from Mr. Ned K. So let me go back to you, Corey. What do you find to be the toughest aspect in your writing longer form story arcs?
I mean, I think for me, just keeping that momentum going, kind of keeping it hot, is basically the hardest part for me. That, and I don't really plan as far ahead as people probably think I do. So, you know, kind of doing the long-term planning, I guess, is not my strong point. It's more off the cuff, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, it's not. It's something that's been tough for me over time, and I've always tried to avoid as much as I can making too long term of a plan because it's always usually it doesn't end up happening the way that you want it to, or something pop up, or someone can't commit. It's something I've tried to learn to get a little bit better at, especially working with pretty close with folks who are on this call has been very helpful. Folks on this in the studio have been very helpful, but it's tough. So same question to you, Mr. York. Again, it's what do you find to be the toughest aspect in writing longer form story arcs?
Well, really, it's just, I mean, along the lines of what Dyson said, is just the long-term planning. I don't really plan a whole lot, so my writing's a lot of spur of the moment. So being able to write a long-term story arc, so it's difficult essentially because I'm not only in one place but in several. So a lot of different things pop up. So you kind of have to be able to be versatile and change on the fly while also keeping yourself interesting and not boring everybody to sleep while they're reading your work. But yeah, that's the biggest hurdle for me, is just the fact that I don't plan a whole lot. I write a lot in the spur of the moment, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's sort of what maybe if I've ever had any success at any kind of long form stories like that, it's doing that spur. You got a one long term sort of vision, and then taking those spur of the moment sort of stories and threading it. Finding a way to thread it into that long term arc. Trying to do that as best as possible. That's sort of what, if it's ever worked for me, that's how it's worked. TK, same
Uh,
question to you, sir. Oh, go ahead, Corey. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think you had a really salient point though about like life getting in the way too. I didn't think of it at the moment, but just people not being able to um, you know, get ahead with the plan. Just because life happens, people have to drop out. That's happened to me quite a bit too. So that's another reason why I sometimes try to avoid planning too long term with folks. Just because I realize like shit happens. This is secondary to everything else, obviously. So can't always count on that.
Yeah, 100%. It's happened to me a number of times, and I've been the guy that's had to drop out on people a number of times too. So I understand that. That's a, definitely a piece of what makes it tough. So TK, question to you.
Well, actually, I got you, Ned, because this is what I kind of like to do, right? Uh, it depends on who you're going up against. There's different kind of role players out there. Like, there's some you can just, for lack of a better term, fuck with until, you know, it kind of forms itself, right? But there's other people that you got to talk to and, get their input, what they want to do and accomplish with the story that you've got in place, right? So you can work together and come up with a big story arc, like let's say pay-per-view to pay-per-view, right? That's probably the best way to go about it. Now, granted, people drop out. I've dropped out. It's not something you can, or it's not something you can't course correct.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and that's I've had to do some of that course correcting myself just due to those circumstances that pop up. Mr. Flynn, same question.
Help me out. So are we talking about like story to story in what you post, or in like the segments carrying a story over in the show?
I think it could be both because the exact framing of the question is what do you find to be the toughest aspect in writing longer form story arcs? And I I think either one of those really kind of fits into the box of the question.
Okay. In terms of writing like an extended story, like, so I came back in 2021, and it felt like it was at that time talking limited number of role plays, but also unlimited length. So you could have like a little before, you could have like a little like previously on section, there was more space to sort of try to inform an uninformed reader that maybe is just popping in, like, hey, sit down for a second, this is what's going on. With 4K, and now that I mostly do Anarchy, that is impossible. You have to be constantly thinking about how to acclimate people as the story goes on, because if you have like one of those previously, you're just burning word count. It's all just waste. And if you are a reader, like, and you see a previously on, most frequently what you're thinking is, oh, this is like, I can probably skip this. And if you're lost, you might come back to it, but it doesn't feel like part of the story because it's separately segmented. In terms of segments, like extended stories in the results in the show, I mean, I don't want to be too repetitive, but it is very similar. Is just on occasion, you set up the perfect narrative between two diametrically opposed forces, and like you've carefully, neatly crafted the scenario where it feels like if there is a power imbalance, maybe things are swinging in the other person's favor. David could slay Goliath, and then all of a sudden, somebody's kid makes state in soccer, and they have to take a step back, and it just sort of all fizzles in the moment. And you try to recreate that moment when they free up, but there's something about just like that second in time where it's perfect, where fate decides to intervene, and it happens. It happens all the time.
Yeah,
That is well said. I am so sorry, but that is a bravo.
Thank you.
indeed. And a really good point too. The first when you're talking about trying to get the reader up to speed on what's been happening. I hadn't really thought about that, how much that has changed with the one role play 4K landscape now. Because, and Corey can attest to this. I think it was a role play we did as Dolly and Dyson a few months ago. Sort of our reintroduction. We're trying to bridge those long-term stories and get everybody caught up on the history of why these characters sort of connect. And we ended up, Corey, if you remember, it was a huge, just sort of like opening recap of like, this is Dolly, and she knows Corey Smith, and Corey knows Madison Dyson, and they, and it burnt up a lot of words. And I think it's a fine line, because sometimes a reader needs that background to get where we need to take them. But to Flynn's point too, it can burn up a lot of words and might not get anything out of it. So yeah, definitely.
That recap in particular, we wrote a goddamn novel, and I knew it was too much, but at the same time, like, I felt like it was necessary because there was so much story to plumb there that I didn't know how the piece was going to work otherwise. So on one level, like, we were, I think any criticism of it being way too much is absolutely valid, but at the same time, like, felt like it really had to get in there.
Yeah, I definitely felt that when we were writing it. It was necessary to get us where we needed to go, and I think it worked out long term. Anyhow, but yeah, so that sort of wraps up some of the questions that we've gotten from the audience members, at least until Alias gets in. He's got a few questions directed for him. So, other than that,
Everybody wants to know about Alias.
So popular. He's so pretty, So with that, guys, we can probably start getting into the preview of Rebellion. So I've got the card in front of me. I know TK knows about every single aspect of these characters that we're gonna talk about in every single match.
Way in depth.
Way in depth. That's right. So let's kick it off here. Rebellion, live from Fenway Park, June 1st, 2025. This is sort of our kickstart to what's going to be a pretty tight summer schedule for role playing in XWF. When you say Flynn, I mean, we've got Rebellion followed up by Leap of Faith, which is always a fun event. And then, of course, Relentless to close out the summer in September are our spectacular programs. So I think Rebellion's got a lot of good heat on this
Mhm.
card to sort of lead into the rest of the summer programming. So, what are your thoughts overall, I suppose, Flynn?
Oh, it's major. In going into Leap of Faith, obviously has huge implications. Obviously, the two ways you can get a 24/7 briefcase, which are monument, like getting one of those in your hand suddenly changes everything about the pecking order in the Fed. The two ways you can get it are with an extreme belt, which is in the hands of Dyson. It feels like, given relatively recent champs, I think since Misty and Bacchus, respectively, we've never been closer to somebody reasonably being able to obtain a briefcase. But then you've got Leap of Faith rolling up where someone guaranteed is going to walk out with a briefcase. And so now everything between now and that moment is trying to demonstrate momentum, is trying to make it clear that you should be in that match and you should be the one to basically get a golden ticket to the Universal title.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You think of last year's Leap of Faith. Ned Kay walks away with the case, and immediately, he's back in contention, fighting for the Universal title that he had just dropped to Sebastian Everett Bryce. And you talk about what a classic those two put on. See, Ned's the honorable guy who rather than just kind of cashed in for a chance at a match. And he's done that a couple of times. Corey, I think he did that when you were the engineer.
He did, yeah.
Now, I'm a big proponent of, hey, no honor, guys. Cash in. If I had ever gotten one, sorry.
Career definer.
Sorry to whoever. Flynn, you two are one who took your briefcase and cashed in for a match, if I'm not mistaken.
What a sucker's game. What an absolute fool. And the thing I love about that, to slightly correct, is you're right. Ned did cash in for a match rather than cashing in. And he, Flynn and Kay, both at War Games, Kay influenced Flynn to try to be a better person, which is why among the reasons he didn't cash in on Brett is he cashed in for a match, and then right after he loses at Leap of Faith, Ned cashes in. Just a fantastic little turn of fate. Just an absolutely delicious situation where the squeaky clean guy is the one that cashes in, and the scumbag heel is the sap left in the dust there.
That's right. I totally I blanked on that. He cashed in the same night. One of only two people ever do that. He and Sarah Lachlan. Wow, what a blunder! Sorry, Ned. Sorry for misrepresenting what an evil, terrible person you are. But yeah, I mean, this Rebellion card is going to lead right into Leap of Faith, which is again can't be understated how important of a show that is. The landscape of XWF is guaranteed to change following the results of that event. So let's kick off a little rundown this card. We're going to be live from Boston, Massachusetts. We have a pre-show, which will make Mr. JB happy. Which I'm always happy to make JB happy. So kicking off the pre-show, a couple of new faces. Dr. Holly Cambrick versus Damian Santos. I got to say, admittedly, I don't know much about either of these two. Dr. Holly Cambrick made a nice little out-of-character post introducing themselves to the Fed, so you always love to see that. So looking forward to what work they put down against, again, a guy I don't really know much about. This is a brand new feller, Damian Santos. So anything could happen. Flynn, you got thoughts on this one?
So, from the character page, Dr. Holly Cambrick is a member of Black Rainbow, who until very recently felt like the big bad, the evil thing that loomed over the Fed. There was a whole thing at Ides of March. All of Black Rainbow came and attacked the king at the time, Kieran King, and just laid him out. There was a looming threat. The next warfare was teeming with fear and palpable anxiety about Black Rainbow, and it seemed like they were at the peak of going to take over everything with how many segments they were, how many matches they were getting involved in, and then Gorgo faced James Shark for the Universal title and came up short. And now Black Rainbow is in sort of this state of what will happen. Peter Principle, the general manager of Warfare, has promised to stomp out what remains, just completely go at them. And in this scene, we see Dr. Holly Cambrick, apparently affiliated with Black Rainbow, entering. So this is definitely a do or die moment for Black Rainbow in terms of regaining that fear, that intimidation they most recently had over the Fed, and this match feels like a good opportunity to make that clear. On the other side, you've got Damian Santos, who, according to his character page, will cheat by any means, is the heeliest heel to ever heel. So you've got two very nefarious forces coming together in what should be Dynamite. Two very different sides of the evil coin. It should be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, that's a good point, because where it almost seemed like maybe the threat of Black Rainbow was gone, this Dr. Holly Cambrick character sort of popping her head in to the Fed now is got he's got to have Peter's, you know, red alert going off, red flags flying everywhere, worried about what she might bring. But then again, you know, Damian Santos, someone who obviously doesn't like to play by the rules either, might have a little surprise for this nefarious force of the Black Rainbow. So on that, TK, any thoughts on this opening pre-show match?
I mean, holy fuck, how do you follow that? But I can only hope, deep down in my heart, that Damian Santos is somehow related to Tony Santos, and we get a barn burner.
Ooh, good point. Tony Santos, an all-time great here in XWF and top 50 on the website. Someone I've had the pleasure of facing a couple times. Great.
Never got to face him. He was way above me whenever I came in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those guys you read and you were like, holy fuck, I hope I get that good someday. You know? So there's that.
Definitely a great hand. Mr. Corey Smith, any thoughts on this pre-show, this opening match?
I'll pop Holly a little bit. I like the character. The whole sadistic surgeon angle, very eerie, very creepy, very, you know, par for the course for the group. I just thought the timing was a little unfortunate. You know, with you know the faction kind of, you know, in flux. Maybe she can bring it back. Maybe she can do something with it. Hopefully, because it was a very, you know, powerful force. It was a very you know, interesting angle. I hope she can do something with it.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Mr. York, any thoughts from you on this opening round?
It's hard to follow up on all that, but I guess my only addition will be to say that both characters seem very interesting, and I hope they bring their best and give us a banger for the opener. With that said, I am, however, a huge advocate for the big dirty heels. So really looking forward to what Santos does, and if Holly can counteract that heelish energy.
Yeah, York would know a thing or two about being a dirty shitheel. Yeah. Real quick, hey, let's run. And sorry, I missed on this. Let's run down quick predictions, guys, if you want to make one. Let's start with you, Flynn. If you had to pick right now, gun to your head, who's coming out of this one?
It's tough because this is both of their debut matches. If I had to pick one, I do think that Dr. Holly's probably going to, just because so much is riding on it for Black Rainbow, she can't afford to not get the win. So I think she takes this one.
Agreed. TK?
Well, I have to disagree with Mark. I think Damian Santos is going to win, only because I feel obligated to disagree with Mark.
Fair. I completely I can't refute any of that.
Fair point. Corey, prediction?
I mean, it's tough to gauge. I mean, because we really haven't seen anything out of either of them aside from character bios. But I'll throw it to Holly. Just because like I said, I think the character seems very interesting and has a lot of potential.
Fair enough. And for you, Justin?
I'm gonna have to go out on a whim here and just go with the bad guy. I'm gonna give Santos the nod in this one.
Okay, I like it. I think I too will go with Mr. Santos. Um, Obviously, I agree, Flynn, that Holly's got to come out swinging and do something big here to regain that traction for the faction. But I don't know, something sneaky about this Santos character. I just I can't put my finger on it, but something feels like they're going to bring some great work. Second matchup on the pre-show is we've got a rematch, a Mayday grudge match, Mr. Oz versus Inquisition. This is going to be an Anarchy format, so a one role play, 1K. Flynn, chat me up on this one.
So Mayday, this was a monster movie of a match, like a Frankenstein meets Mummy, like a Creature of the Black Lagoon meets Friday the 13th. Just two very large mammoth Leviathan characters just running at each other with all they had. Um, the interesting thing about the last match is we haven't gotten a chance to see both these guys throw everything they have at each other. I think both Oz and Inquisition ended up posting something like 400. I think it was mostly shoot. I think because they both had schedules. Hopefully, there's an opportunity where they can throw everything they have at each other, because I think this was the first one. Oz won by the skin of his teeth. It was very, very close. Inquisition, in his debut match, dropped something very creepy, very weird, and eerie. Just did not overcome Oz, who is still doing his school academy, his wrestling academy angle, but also delivered something a little nefarious, a little cult like, which he is known to do. So I think that this is going to be hopefully explosive, going to completely settle the scoreboard regarding which of these is more formidable. And I think Inquisition levels the score. I think he evens the playing field and we go 1-1.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you here. And that was really our first introduction, right, to Inquisition. I know they had posted for the Captain Future event, the April Fools for the gift card that never was. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but yeah, so it didn't seem like either really got to. I totally agree that either got to really do their best work here. So I'm really looking forward to see who comes out on top of this. And I think too, like you, that if I were to pick right now, I think maybe Inquisition is gonna surprise all of us um, with what work they put forth. Thunder Knuckles, to you, sir.
I say, fuck that noise. Ozzy's going to win.
Hell yeah.
I got you down, brother. I mean, it's no. As the great Ned K would say, Mr. Oz is nothing to sneeze at, right? Um, so yeah, totally could happen. Mr. Corey Smith, to you, any thoughts on this match or a prediction?
I think I got to give it to Ozzy too. I didn't. I don't know. I just kind of felt like, aside from being creepy, I didn't really get a good feel for Inquisition the last time. So I think I got to give it to Ozzy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Mr. York.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give the nod to Oz as well. I do enjoy the writing of both characters, but having faced Oz and seeing what he can do in high pressure situations, I think I got to give Oz the nod here.
Look, Oz coming out a
Fuck that shit.
Oz coming out a big favorite here. And then listen, I mean, the guy's an absolute vet in the XWF. He's been around. He knows how to play the game here, and is one of those staple XWF characters for a reason. So, you never know. And I like, Flynn, that you brought up how sort of that little new nefarious twist to what was sort of a wholesome wrestling school. It looked like Oz was doing some stuff out of the kindness of his heart and trying to train up and now it's kind of turned weird and cultish. So yeah, interested to see what comes next for Oz in this story. So let's move on now. The official opening match for Rebellion is the XWF Tag Team Championship match. Madison Dyson and Dolly Waters, the defending champions, against Sebastian Everett Bryce and Isaiah King. The 24/7 rule does apply to Madison Dyson, who's also currently the Extreme Champion and is also currently in the recording studio with us. Flynn, let me kick this over to you. Start out.
Sure. So, more recent, I think this ties into a number of different storylines. First, Dyson striking one of the first blows to steal the wind out of Black Rainbow's sails, because Marisol Valaro on Anarchy managed to defeat Tommy Wish, who got the Extreme Belt from Gorgo, and managed to snatch it back in record time, 48 hours. And possibly the first domino to fall in what was the loosening of the stranglehold that Black Rainbow had on the XWF. On the other side of the tag team champions, you've got Dolly Waters, who has currently been going on this revolution kick with Mark Flynn and Schism, trying to upend the apple cart, trying to challenge management's role in the decision making around the Fed, trying to give the power back to the people, much to the chagrin of Peter Principle, who at the most recent warfare tried to silence the revolution by throwing out who he had to offer, and who he had to offer was very limited in ability. You've got Big Preach, you've got Herschel, Big Puddin' Kiss, and XWF security enforcer Tommy Gunn, all of whom were felled very quickly by Mark Flynn and Schism, respectively. And before Peter could throw out his next muscle at Dolly to punish her for her actions at Mayday, taking over the production cart at the exact same time Black Rainbow had their PSYOP incite a riot through video control situation, Peter called a timeout on the punishment so he could pick out the perfect challengers. And is this related to that? But whether or not it is, you could not find two greater challengers than the two of the most recent Universal Champions, Sebastian Everett Bryce and Isaiah King. You can count the number of matches that Seb has lost on almost one hand. Still, in terms of predictions, number one, there's a very new team. So I think that Dyson and Dolly have the edge in terms of experience, and even without that, Seb has had a lot of difficulty in tag team matches. He is, for whatever reason, I think you can genuinely count one person that's beaten him in a one-on-one match. I think he lost his Universal title, the first one by cash-in, the second one by triple threat. But for whatever reason, if you give him a partner, he has difficulty. So I think if there's one guy that can pull the very best out of him, it's Isaiah King, who carried Bobby and Charlie, two guys who are very formidable, but had struggled in that War Games environment to ever get the win. He is the reason Bobby has a War Games ring. He's the reason Charlie has a War Games ring. James Raven doesn't deserve one, but now he has one. And in this look, if there's a guy who could do it, it would be Isaiah to pull that teamwork out of Seb. But I'm still predicting Dyson and Dolly take it. You've just got one of the best pairings in XWF history. It's a tall order for any team to pull off.
Look, and I think Dyson and myself could both speak to King's ability to work on a team. Because there's some threads, running back here. So Dyson fought Seb one-on-one. That was a great match. And then turned around, I guess it was at the cycle after, we were paired with Isaiah against Seb, Corey Black, and Larry Tact. And Isaiah was really, just great to work with. And I think was a big part of why we were able to pick up that W. So let's kick this match over to you, TK. What are your thoughts, predictions?
I really like the pairing of Seb and Isaiah King. I think that could be a formidable team. But can they conquer the XWF champions? That's the question, right? That's going to be a tall order as a new team. But hey, I've seen new teams come in and wreck shop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick Dyson Waters. Sorry, guys.
That was so much build.
That was the best I got.
You did good. Mr. Corey Smith, do you have any? You don't have to necessarily make a prediction. I think I know what your prediction is. But do you have any thoughts on the match? Do you want to sort of talk through it any?
I'm gonna go against the grain. We're fucked.
I secretly agree.
I think I think it's definitely a heater. Either way, I'm not gonna make a prediction. I'm gonna stay tactful on that. It's definitely a heater. I faced Seb like 3 times now, maybe. He's absolutely stellar. I think he's probably one of my top 3 favorite guys in the Fed right now. Isaiah King, also, like you alluded to before, great to work with. Definitely didn't mind us having some fun with his character, which, is sometimes you don't see that out of folks. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a heater either way. I'm gonna stay neutral.
Yeah, agreed. Mr. Justin York, thoughts on this opening?
Classy,
bout?
by the way, very classy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm loving that Flynn opens so that way he gets a nice rundown in for us. First off, I'm gonna say this, in my opinion, has the potential to be the match of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have to give the nod to Seb and Isaiah King. Sorry, gentlemen.
Fair enough. It's not a bad pick.
York, who do you think wins the extreme? Do you think the winner pins Dyson and gets the extreme, or what do you think?
I'm going to say Dyson doesn't get pinned. It's going to be Dolly's failure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and say that Dyson's not gonna lose the belt either. It'll probably be Dolly that eats the pin. Yeah, that's just my prediction for that, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. No shame in my game. I very well could happen. And a couple of you were talking about how, this is a heater. It's a big match, and just I'll peel back the curtain a little bit. I mean, this was potentially discussed, and Flynn, correct me if I'm wrong. This was really, I think, seriously considered to either co-main event or even potentially a main event this show.
Yes, this is a big one. This has major implications.
Agreed.
And how many? I should know this off the top of my head. I'm sorry for not knowing. How many defenses does Dyson have at this point? I should.
One. So the one against Dio, right?
Yeah,
okay.
She just has one against Dio.
Just recent. Okay, so but this would be the first of 2 pay-per-view defenses, and then you need 1 Anarchy defense. So I mean, this is a hefty one. This is a tough one for the second defense, but this would be a big hurdle to get over if you can do it right here. Because this doubles both. You don't get anything for tag team championship defenses, but if you are defending the extreme in a tag team match, it still counts toward the defenses.
Yeah, it's a big piece of the puzzle for the case. So lot of heat on this match. Well, good. Let's move on. The next match following this heater is going to be LaToya Hicks and Razor Blade, the American Storm, versus the Thugs, #1 contendership to the Anarchy tag titles. This is going to be under Anarchy tag team rules, which is a 1 role play, 2K word scenario. Flynn, let's start out.
Thugs next. No, I shouldn't be rude. I shouldn't be rude to the Thugs. Thugs are going to win this. They are the superior team. I don't care what group you put them in, if it's Reggie and JB, or if it's Tommy and JB, or Tommy and Reggie, or any of the 3 of them and whatever side character. Yeah, no. This is the real discussion we could have is whether the Thugs are going to beat the Bastards or Scoops McGee, which that's going to be a tall order. This is going to be a tough. This is the stepping stone onto a much bigger opportunity. It would be great for the Thugs to win the Anarchy tag titles. I know they have been cutting promos on Anarchy for years, since before there were Anarchy tag titles, about wanting to represent some sort of tag division on Anarchy. But you've got probably the two best teams in Anarchy history facing off later in the card. It's going to be tough, but there's no doubt in my mind the Thugs are going to win this match.
It's not a bold. That's not a bold statement, really,
Nope.
at all. And I gotta say that I'm right there with you. And good to point out, that the implications for this one. Either Scoops McGee or the No Good Bastards, which again, yeah, I mean you've already said it. Thunder Knuckles, your thought on potential number one contenders being the Thugs or the American Storm?
Like Mark said, big implications here to get a number one contenders spot, right? Any tag team wants it, just to be able to get to the point, right? I'm going to take the Thugs. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Mr. Corey Smith, Mr. Madison Dyson.
Hey, I got to give it to the Thugs as well. I think one thing that I do want to bring up is just how tenured they are. Just I don't know who right now is more tenured than they are. I'm probably blanking. Flynn, are you?
This is a fun fact. Tommy Wish and Mark Flynn debuted on the same week. I think it was it was July of 2012. We both had our first match on the same show.
Oh, that is interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I got to throw it to the Thugs. They've been such a long time treat to watch and see grow. Got to throw it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad call at all. Mr. Justin York, to you?
Yeah, I got to go with the group this time and give it to the Thugs. But I think regardless of who comes out of this match, with the implications so big, they're basically climbing Mount Everest butt naked after this show. So yeah, best of luck to them. I think the Thugs come out of it, but no matter which team wins the tag titles later in the show, it's a fucking wall to climb. So best of luck to both teams.
Yep, good point. So let's move on now. Next matchup is for the XWF Television Championship. The newly minted and defending champion Lucy Wilde walks into a 15-minute time limit contest against Cavorton Jake Borden, typically an Anarchy superlative here. Mr. Borden, a standout on the Anarchy brand, challenging for the television championship. This one feels big. It is big. Flynn, your thoughts on this?
I think Lucy beats Jake in record time. I think that it's time for this Cinderella story to end. I think it is a black mark on the Fed that Jake Borden had even a brief tenuous hold on championship gold. I would like to take this opportunity to thank TK for ending Jake Borden's reign. I don't like to use the word reign because it was just awful, just a terrible time. The fact that he's been around, the fact that he has a victory over people like Scoops McGee and Atari are jokes, just absolutely a travesty. And I think that Lucy will dissect him, and then we can bid farewell to this dark chapter in the XWF's history.
That you've really hurt me. You've wounded me saying such terrible things about Jake. I wholeheartedly disagree. But anyway, before I get into it, I'm gonna kick it over to TK.
Well, I think that was very rude to Jake, and I don't think you should talk about him like that.
Okay.
Bullshit.
But I am also going to take Lucy Wilde.
Okay. Corey Smith, over to you, friend.
Did Jake Borden take your lunch money or something? Like,
I just don't like the guy.
but I think as entertaining, as fun as Jake Borden is to read every single time, I'm also going to throw it to Lucy, just because she's so consistent. Another one that I love to read as much as possible. I'm just going to throw it to Lucy.
Fair enough. Justin York.
Both entertaining writers, in my opinion, but quick prediction is that Lucy Wilde's just on fire right now. I think quickly and decisively she takes the win.
Look, and honestly, that's coming down to it. I'm going with Lucy Wilde as well. As much as I love Jake Borden, and I don't think enough has been really said yet about just the quality of work that Lucy's been pumping out here recently, especially in terms of promos. I think some of her best work these last few cycles since late last year. It's good to see it. Love to see that she's the champion, and I too think Lucy Wilde retains here. So moving on, after that, we've got Solomon and Crimson Klein versus Sarah Wolf and Marisol Valero in a cage match. Flynn, I know you've got a lot of color on this one. I can't wait to hear you lead off on it.
So this one has direct implications, I believe, also from May Day. Solomon Klein faced off with Sarah Wolf. Solomon Klein promised to stamp out personally Black Rainbow to strike a victory for the XWF. He came up short, unfortunately. Sarah Wolf, one of the victories that Black Rainbow claimed at May Day. And then Solomon Klein turned around after coming up short and challenged Sarah Wolf and Enigma to a tag team cage match to settle the score, and he would bring a partner of his choosing, which we would later learn is his father, XWF legend, former Anarchy GM, Crazy Crimson Klein, because Enigma has been looped into a match with Thaddeus Duke. It has been replaced by another member of Black Rainbow, Marisol Valero. But this match is for a lot of bragging rights. Solomon Klein has been on this Rookie of the Year campaign. He has been trying to declare himself the champion of the XWF, its future. And this, among the reasons this is his great crusade, is I believe he thinks defeating the Black Rainbow will cement his status as Rookie of the Year. He has cut a number of promos with Crazy Crimson Klein, with his adoptive father, trying to guide him, trying to mold him toward that success, and now they will be sharing a ring together. It's going to be tough, and it's as much as Black Rainbow is going to bring everything they can to each match to try to gain back that momentum they've lost with Gorgo's departure. I think that this is Solomon's night. I think he finally proves himself that Rookie of the Year campaign that he's been setting out on since he debuted.
Yeah, and again, what a way to cement that by sort of thwarting this diabolical force that is the Black Rainbow. If it's ever a time to do it, Solomon, it's your time, especially with the legend that is his father in his corner. Real quick, thinking about a tag team cage match. So it's going to have to be more like a cell, or are we doing is this a tornado tag?
It does not specify, but I don't know how you would regulate. I mean, with a cage, I don't know how you force people out to the apron to hold the tag. You'd be breast up against the cage. So this has to be tornado tag. I would be hard pressed to imagine a scenario where you don't just let these four people have at it at each other, and just let the chaos roll in. Just let it completely reign over the scene.
Yeah, and I think that feels most appropriate. That would be really uncomfortable, just kind of wedged between that cage and
Oh, just awful.
Yeah, awful.
That's the real extreme rules. Is just the slight discomfort.
That's right. TK, thoughts, feelings, comments.
I'm going to pick Sarah Wolf and Marisol here. I think that if Black Rainbow is to pull themselves out, right? Either Wolf or Marisol would become like the de facto leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a way to pull it out, it's going to be through that. So I'm going to take them.
I mean, not a bad call. And talk about two more who have just been putting up some really, their last outings, putting up really good work out of both of them. Mari's been a while now. Yeah.
Since she's joined Black Rainbow, Mari has dropped her best work. Like, it just transformative in terms of, turns out that missing key to the stuff was good before where she was the fitness instructor and abusing her clients, but once you add the cult element, it just all fits together like puzzle pieces. Just really good.
Oh, 100%. It's something we have talked about, judging and reading their work for months on Anarchy. There was something, just a little sprinkle of something that wasn't quite there, because the character work had always been phenomenal. And we knew they were just a step away. And yes, I mean, it's role play of the month, currently on the boards for a reason. That Valaro role play, tremendous. One of my favorite reads of the month. Corey Smith, to you, any thoughts on this match?
I mean, I'm embarrassed to admit that I haven't read a whole lot of Solomon Klein's stuff, and it's nothing personal against him at all. I just hadn't gotten around to it, but I thank Flynn for the recap. I think this is an interesting one, because I don't think, has Marisol ever been booked on a show other than Anarchy?
Pay-per-views, I don't, but still with our Anarchy rules. So I think this will be your first foray into 4K.
Yeah, I think that's something interesting to consider. That
was smooth like butter, by the way, Mark. Anyway.
Thank you.
Very good. I'm not quite sure on this one. I think maybe just because Marisol might be a little bit out of her usual element, not being on Anarchy, maybe throw it to the Kleins. But I think this is a tough call for me.
Yeah, fair play, and it's going to be interesting to see how Mari does here in this tag team element. It was a sort of a pet project, or that I wanted to really see work between, when I booked her and Addie together in the Bashmaster Classic to go for the tag titles, and it just didn't. It's not that they weren't interested or didn't want to work together. It just, the team thing didn't really seem to work. So it's going to be interesting to see if Mari can pull it out here with Sarah Wolf, given the Black Rainbow ties. It might be just what puts them over. Justin, your thoughts?
So listen, I like Solomon. I think his work's incredible. Faced him since I've come back. But in this particular scenario, I think the Kleins are up against a team of molten lava and fire combined. I'm going to have to give it to Wolf and Valaro.
Yeah, agreed. That's my pick too. I think the Black Rainbow could be poised to run through this card here without a loss. So next up, we've got Tatiana Jolie versus another newcomer, Frances Marigold. Flynn, let's hear it.
So Francis Marigold is debuting. I just wanted to read a couple lines off of his bio. Former underground rock musician who suffered significant brain damage due to escapades in and out of unsanctioned street fights and decades of drug and alcohol abuse. Claims to have written the majority of Fred Durst's lyrics. Claims to have beaten up Kimbo Slice twice.
I love this guy.
Oh, no, absolutely. Strengths, inhuman threshold for pain. Weaknesses, inhuman threshold for pain. Absolutely delightful. I don't think... So, I'll zoom out. Tatiana Jolie came to the XWF after 20-some-odd years in the game, looking to step onto the biggest stage of them all, big independent signing, was previously on Action Pro Wrestling, APW, on CBS Discovery Network, I believe is what's going on there. And has had some very solid matches, has fought Bacchus, took him to the limit at War Games for the Extreme title, came up just short, took the television champion at the time, Charlie Nichols, to his very, very limit, came up just short, and most recently in a fatal four-way between Aurora, Tact, Enigma. I think she ultimately victory was in her grasp and just lost it. She needs a match to tune to get back into position. And on the flip side, so she is very technical. She is among the most technical wrestlers in the Fed. She calls herself one of the last pure wrestlers. And on the other side of the ring, you have Francis Marigold, who his profile picture shows him drinking a beer and smashing it into his own skull. So I could not imagine two more You've got the unstoppable force and the immovable object here. I think that. So I do think that Tatiana will probably struggle out of the gate dealing with someone as chaotic, as absolutely chaos incarnate as Francis Marigold. But I do think with that technical skill, she will recover. I think she'll find the victory, but I think this one's going to be a nail biter.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and it seems like Tatiana always treats us to sort of those nail biter matches. And I think it really is time to see her sort of break out of that rut of coming up just short and really putting her stamp on this match. Would like to see it. I'm gonna say that well, and here real quick too. You talked about her time in Action Wrestling? Did you mentioned it at a point? If I'm not mistaken, she was the top champion in Action Wrestling.
She was, I think that's slightly, she renamed, I think, the television title the Purity title and imbued certain rules on it. I don't think it was the top title, but she did hold it for a number of months in a pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah, and that's from what I've always understood about Action Wrestling, that's a talented place as well. So
yeah,
I think I was glad that you pointed out those tough contests with Bacchus and with Charlie. I think this is Tatiana's time. TK, thoughts?
Listen, the bio page has me so rock hard that Marigold is taking this win. I don't think I've seen a bio or heard a bio that made me this hard.
Listen, I don't know. I think whoever
boner.
I have
a boner.
I think whoever wrote it was
saying.
Whoever wrote that bio was drunk, and I don't think that they're it's just whatever.
No, that's what makes it perfect. Rock fucking hard. Anyway, you got my opinion.
Okay, Corey Smith, to you, sir.
I don't know if I'm rock hard, but I almost have to mirror TK's sentiments about the bio.
You are fucking rock hard. So hard I can feel it.
All right. So I like Holly's bio. I thought it was very an interesting character. Really sucked me in. Right from the get go. It's a tough call though because while I've seen Tatiana's work, we've seen nothing from Francis. Even still, just on the basis of that amazing bio, I'm gonna roll the dice and go with Francis.
Okay.
That bio is Viagra.
Listen, I appreciate the Nirvana, definitely. Justin York, what about you?
I have to agree with TK and say that the bio is definitely a little blue pill, but I'm just going to have to go against the grain here and say that Tatiana's going to be far too much for him to deal with in his debut. And so my quick and easy prediction is going to be Tatiana Jolie takes the win here.
Yeah, I'd say good call. Good call. We'll see. I mean, Francis could come out and just be an absolute killer, but I've been surprised before. Next up, we've got the Anarchy Tag Team Championship match. Big time matchup here, guys. We talked about the first tag team, sort of the contest for the XWF belts being sort of a heater. Boys, at the 2K level, at the Anarchy level, I don't think you could have asked for a better contest than this. The defending champion, them No Good Bastards, are facing off against the challengers, Scoops McGee and Game Girl, also known as Scoops McGee. Flynn, let's hear it.
Thank goodness. So I think that there was a lot of anxiety and fear around the Anarchy Tag Team Champions once they got into the right hands. Again, I don't know if Bobby had some bad shrimp on the week that Roger and Jake managed to upset them No Good Bastards, but thankfully the stars aligned for a rematch, at which point it was a one-sided dominant victory. There was then a question of who would occupy the vacuum. Obviously, the Bashmaster Classic had a lot of great teams. Tara and Mari unfortunately imploded in on themselves. I believe Lucky Lewis Hero is dead, missing, presumed dead, heavily presumed dead. And you've got Summer Page and Richard Powers, who are formidable, but Richard hasn't been opting in for, I think, debt. I think he's in debt. So there was a question of who would rise up to challenge them No Good Bastards. One of the most dominant tag teams in XWF history, came very, very close to setting the record for longest tag team title reign of all time. It's easy to forget back in 2021 how dominant Bobby and TK were. It's a fair question of who could possibly take their titles off of them. And then out of nowhere, coming to the Anarchy brand, you have Scoops McGee and Game Girl, who are just absolute dynamite. Just one of the only people that can claim a victory over the Revolution in a trios match back at, I believe it was Snow Holds Barred, if I remember. Yes, I think it was Snow Holds Barred. Very few people have managed to beat Bobby, Mark, and Schism. They were just coming off of a victory over Sab Aurora and Lucy. And Scoops and Game Girl, along with Roxy Cotton, managed to defeat them with just absolute fun. Just an absolutely barn burner of a story. And I think I don't know if I can pick a winner here, just because I think it all comes down to how they both decide to play this. If Bobby and TK can bring the heat, if they can make this a battle of trash talk, I don't think anybody can beat Bobby and TK. If Game Girl and Scoop stick to their game plan, if they just deliver something chaotic and fun, they're facing two guys that every story is chaotic and fun, but I think that's their only road to success. I think it's everything's to play for. I think it all comes down not to who will win. I think it's entirely up to who brings the heat and who wants it more.
Wonderfully put. And going back and talking about that match against that Scoops and Gigi won over the Revolution, the fact that they won that with dragging Roxy Cotton's rotten hide through that contest and picking up that victory, incredible. So I mean, really, all bets are off. But then
glorified handicap match, but
glorified. Agreed. Yes, glorified handicap match. And then back to them No Good Bastards, and I think it might also be lost on folks, not just how dominant those two were during that tag reign that you were alluding to there, but the level of competition in terms of tag team wrestling in XWF at that time. Let's name some of the folks. So you had Corey Smith and Thad Duke, along with Doc, in and out with Continuum. You had Mark Flynn and North Korean War Criminal. You had Jim Cadis and Robert Main. Betsy Granger and Atara Raven. I mean, the
Betsy
competition.
Granger and Lycana, Betsy Granger and Sean. Betsy paired up with so many. Like the ongoing narrative was, okay, this partner is going to be how Betsy takes down the bastards, and subtract one victory at War Games. Betsy couldn't. The reason Betsy did not have a tag team title reign to her very impressive resume is just how dominant Bobby and TK were as tag team champions.
Yeah, agree 100%. And that match, so there was a match at Relentless where they finally, it was the last shot Betsy I think got, where she paired up with Lycana against them No Good Bastards in a cage. That was a cage match too, wasn't it? Or
That was
an electric cage, yeah.
Mhm.
And Bobby and TK put their foot down. Enough can't be said about them. Corey Smith, thoughts, feelings on this Anarchy Tag Team Championship match?
First, I want to say I love the dynamic between Game Girl and Scoops. I think they're fabulous together. Just the disparity between the two. This is a tough call for me too. Because I think, like Flynn was saying, it's gonna come down to, I think, promo stylings. They're both teams that are noted for doing things that are fun, that are light, that are just a joy to read. It's a tough call. I think the Bastards might eke it out. But that's not a confident prediction by any means.
No, fair enough. I mean, this is a tough one to sort of put underneath a microscope here. Justin York, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I do. So first off, I'll say that if any team's got the recipe and formula to beat the Bastards, it's Scoops McGee and Game Girl. But with that being said, it's been proven time and time again when the stakes are as high as they are, it's just impossible for me to not bet the house on the Bastards. So I'm going to confidently give the nod to Bobby Bourbon and TK.
Not a bad pick. Thunder Knuckles, I know you're involved in this match. I kind of skipped over you intentionally, but I want to give you the last say on this. Not expecting a prediction. Not expecting you to be as classy as Corey Smith either. So let's hear it. What do you got?
Well, you know me well. Anyway, no, there's no easy way out for the Bastards. It seems like when we have a tag match, it's not against slouches, right? We usually get the best of the best. And this is going to be tough, but, it is what it is.
Let me ask you. Let me just pick your brain just real quickly, not to sidetrack too much. What's been different in terms of for you and Bobby working together in sort of this 2K word format versus what you guys are used to, the longer form, more space to shoot, more space to with those fun, ridiculous stories that you guys always put together. How has this sort of worked out? Are you finding it easier, or is it more challenging to write in the shorter form?
It's far more challenging in the shorter form. You got to kind of choose what you want to do, right? You could try to give it a nice little mix, but then it feels rushed. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of, I don't know. This is a little different, but it's different, challenging, and that's what we sign up for, is the challenge.
Well said. Very classy, TK. You've proved me wrong. I'm gonna
Suck
go,
it, dude.
and as much and I love Scoops and Gigi together. Their work's brilliant and fun. I mean, we faced them not so long ago, Corey. I was sweating bullets. Really a well paired sort of odd bedfellow team here with Scoops and Gigi. But I'm gonna have to go with history, right? I'm gonna have to go with them No Good Bastards. They're the most dominant tag team probably in XWF history for a reason. So that's my pick. Moving on, we've got another heater of a match here, guys. It's Aurora versus Larry Tack. Flynn, what do you think?
So this one, we're getting a little bit of a repeat. We're getting a part two in this story. Part two is actually something of a misnomer because we learned when Aurora and Larry Tack faced each other, I believe on Warfare, that these two have a lengthy history. Shared back in at Level Up Wrestling, which I'm embarrassed to admit I don't know all the history. So I've got to rely a little bit on Aurora's narrative. Back when she was wrestling under a different moniker, she was the world champion at Level Up Wrestling, and Larry came upon the scene with a group of people called the Game Changers, and Aurora left the Fed at its darkest moment as Larry was ascending, and she took the opportunity she had facing off with Larry on Warfare and just on the mic tore him to shreds. Just absolutely tried to break down everything she found lacking in Larry Tact. And the match was very competitive, very close between them. Aurora managed to squeak out the win. It'll be interesting to see. You could argue Larry got caught on the back foot with how hard Aurora went at him. This one could be one could consider this on much more equal playing field now that Larry knows. I think I remember the promo afterwards. Larry was a little heated regarding just how hard Aurora came at him in the paint. And I think this will be an opportunity for Larry to level the score. I think if the last one, either competitor could think of this as not a grudge match, I think what went on the first match has made it clear there's a lot of bad blood between these two. I think that Larry is riding off of a victory, carrying Jake Borden over Bobby and Oz, which I think indicates Larry's picked up a lot in the last few weeks. He just won the television title, dropped it in a barn burner to Lucy, but he's still on the rise. But I don't think anybody beats Aurora right now. I think Aurora, it took Kieran King at his most kingly at Ides of March, where he is at his greatest power, competing for a crown, to put down Aurora. I think Aurora makes the score 2-0. I think that Larry continues to improve. I think that he continues to pick up the pieces to continue to climb the ladder. But I also don't think anyone beats Aurora right now.
Look, I mean, well said, and good to point out. Just the venom between those two sort of caught me off guard. I remember going back and reading Aurora's promo on that one, and it was rather biting. I didn't realize all the backstory and history that the two had, and Aurora really laid it at Larry's feet, and I good to call out, just how much Larry is sort of coming along, and I think in conversations I've sort of had, out of character with the handler there, they weren't really anticipating, sort of the trash talk and the promo aspect of XWF to be just what it is. And I think they're starting to pick up that steam and kind of realize now how they need to play. And so who knows? Stunner Knuckles, what do you got for this one?
Listen, I can't gush more about Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
Just some of the finest RPs there are in the Fed right now. I'm going to pick her to win. Nothing against Larry. I think Mark is absolutely right that Larry's coming in his own here. But it hurts my heart to agree with Mark. So,
Corey Smith, what do you got?
I went on mute for a second there. It's tough for me to be unbiased, I think, with this one, just because I find Aurora's handler to be one of the most pleasant people just in the Fed in general. Had the pleasure of speaking with them a number of times, but unbiased I will try to be. I think what kind of gets lost in the mix, and Flynn kind of alluded to it, is that Aurora's trash talk is really biting sometimes. And like there are times when, I've read her work and I've just kind of reread a portion and just been like, damn. Just good stuff. I think that's probably what's gonna pull her through and give her the win here. Again, not to take anything from Larry because I do think he's got a future here for sure. I think he like you guys said that he is building on himself. The TV title win was a nice little nod for him. I could definitely see him, definitely being at extreme level somewhere down the road. And I think, it goes without saying, getting second place to King in the tournament was huge. I had, Aurora winning it. That was, what I wanted to happen. Nothing against King, but getting second place in the tourney was absolutely huge. And I don't think, we can discount that. I got to give it to Aurora.
Listen, and good to point out too. Larry coming into his own, like we've all talked about. It's not to be overlooked that Larry just tapped Aurora out, right, to win that television title there for that little cup of coffee that they held it before Lucy swiped it back. Am I mistaken in saying that, Flynn?
No.
Yeah. So it was at May Day. Yeah. So you talk about the heat there, just adding to the already furnace that's between these two. Justin York.
Yeah. So as already stated by you gentlemen, I think Aurora's trash talk is devastating and was a lot for Larry to handle at first. However, I do believe that Larry has his traits are strong in versatility and adaptability, and I think he'll be a lot more prepared for her this time. I think this is his first full circle moment, and I think Larry's going to capitalize on the mistakes he made the first time, and he's going to pull out a shocker and take the win here.
It would be a huge win either way. And for me, I guess personally, I think looking at Aurora, right? So we have the tough loss against King. Then we drop the television title. I think this is a moment for Aurora where it's almost feels like a must win. And I think that Venom's going to sort of reflect the stakes of this contest for in their shoot. And I'm looking forward to reading it. I would lean toward Aurora in this scenario. Okay, so next up, we've got Enigma versus Thaddeus Duke. This one's interesting in a lot of different ways. Flynn, what do you have for this one?
So this is probably, I mean, I keep bringing it up, but it does have major implications for Rebellion. Is the presence of Black Rainbow, Enigma being the muscle, being the brute strength behind the stable that allowed Gorgo to secure power. As she departs, as has been previously mentioned, there's a question of leadership, of who steps into that position, leading the group possibly back into the dominant position that it had taken so easily. We have talked about Sarah Wolf, who has really been absolutely crushing it. Dr. Holly Cambrick, who has a lot of potential, obviously debuting. Obviously, we haven't seen anything from, but if there is a position of power to take, you've got to imagine she would be looking to secure that. And then you've got Enigma, who is facing future XWF legend Thaddeus Duke, son of former XWF legend Sebastian Duke, who is, of course, only not in the Hall of Legends because Thaddeus specifically challenged him to a match where if he lost, he would be stripped of his legend status, at which point Thaddeus extradited him to the Illuminati state and had him executed. That's tough. That's a tough thing to come back from.
Yeah.
And rest in peace, buddy. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. in peace. Mm-hmm.
But this match has big implications for Black Rainbow. It also has big implications for Thaddeus Duke, who, as I don't think we've mentioned, has stepped into this leadership position after Theo Price's sudden departure, after the Theo Price era, which went on for years. One of the reasons I came back when I was just trolling on the site, and I saw a lot of cool stories, and I was like, that's fun. I was like, oh my God, Theo's still here. That's fantastic. And he was more in an administrative than a competitive role at that point, but it was still one of the reasons that I was like, I'm going to give this another shot. This place is fun. Thad is with that, you've got one of the most big match competitors in the XWF. This is a guy that won 3 different matches across 3 different nights of Relentless, is what a showman and performer he is. Enigma, you have to imagine that this is Enigma's chance. This is absolutely, if Enigma wants to seize the reins of the Black Rainbow, to guide it into its future, he has to walk out with the win. But I also don't see a world where, with the big lights on, in front of the big camera, on a pay-per-view, I don't see Thad coming up short. I think this one's got to go Thad Duke.
Look, I mean, a great recap there. I can't disagree, really. But this is probably the biggest opportunity, I think, for Black Rainbow, because this is Black Rainbow versus the son of the XWF, Thaddeus Duke, Mister Big Match, Mister Showtime. Really excited to see it. Thunder Knuckles, do you have thoughts on this one?
Yeah, fuck Thaddeus Duke and Enigma wins. All right, move on.
Corey Smith.
I have it. I have, because I'm deaf as shit. I have this on with the captions. Did you call him Thaddeus Duke or not? Thaddeus.
You know what? I will change my answer to fuck Thaddeus and Thaddeus Duke.
Okay, all right.
Enigma wins.
It was also showing earlier when you guys were saying Roxy Cotton, which I think there's definitely some marketing potential there.
Ooh.
Very nice.
Anyway, I like Enigma a lot, and I think he's kind of been in this tough spot where he's just like constantly getting thrown against people that, you know, on that particular night are just like a tiny bit better. But he's very talented, and I think this match is got to be balls to the wall for him. I think he needs this, and I think for that reason, I'm going to go against the grain and say that he will take it. Again, you know, he's a very talented writer, very talented. I think this is the time that he finally shines.
Look, I mean, I like the call of Flynn. I mean, going back to Enigma's last match, and I think it's there's someone who continues to be booked against really tough outs, you know, cycle after cycle. Then that last match against Sebastian Everett Bryce was a prime example of that, where I thought really Enigma put up some brilliant work. I mean, beautiful writer in terms of prose. The story's fun. It's creepy. It's eerie. It's right up my alley. And just right there on the cusp with one of the really the best to have ever done it in the XWF and Seb.
And he's not lacking confidence. It's important to remember Enigma wanted that, like, he specifically challenged Seb for that match. I think a lot of people would look at a match with Seb as something to dread, but he specifically was like, "No, give me that guy." So I think in terms of putting the pieces, like, I don't think there's. I maintain my prediction. I think Thad takes it, but I do think he's in for a huge challenge from a competitor that will show no fear to him.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Justin York.
So I think this match is interesting because you got in my opinion, two of the best storytellers in the game, period. It's not even a question. And when the lights are the biggest and the brightest and the matches are at the highest of stakes, they both somehow manage a way to become better than they ever were before. With that being said, though, like, I'm going to go against the grain on the whole group, and I'm going to call a draw on this one. If there's a possibility for one, I don't think that either man walks out with a win. I think they walk out with their pride intact and knowing what each other's worth and weight.
Or a possibility of them being both carted out on a stretcher. I mean, for, you know, these are two people who, these are two people who want to win big time. I guess for me, in my thoughts, my prediction, as much as I love Enigma, I love their work. I've been against Thad before in these big matches. You talk about just one heck of a competitor, a guy who's always going to bring it. That's a whole legacy behind him. I don't think he's going to let that legacy fall at the wayside against Enigma. So I'm going to take Thad Duke.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to the next match, the XWF Anarchy Championship. Allegedly, Michael Graves versus King Justin York. Flynn, what are you thinking here?
Yeah. So you've got two very different competitors here. Justin York has come from. It's inappropriate to say nowhere because we're talking about someone who's had a long history in the game, who is the current owner of Pro Wrestling Valor. But it's important to remember, like at the time that he became Revolution champion, Cypher had just invaded the number one contender at the time, Cavort and Jake Borden, had just converted him into like a digital space where he could not escape.
Yep.
And I'm very angry that he got out. But the energy was there. I think a lot of people thought Cypher was destined to battle with Matthias Sin, who at the time was thought to be an unbeatable Revolution champion, who was cruising on a 200-plus day reign. And Cypher and Justin York ended up facing each other, and Justin York pulled off the win against against any semblance of the momentum. Since I believe Justin can correct me if I'm wrong, I think his debut match on Anarchy, he faced the current Universal Champion James Shark, which I could not imagine a harder first match. I think it was James's first try at Anarchy rules, but it's still James Shark. Of course, he's going to be elite. Since that match happened, Justin York has not dropped a single match. Not only did he beat Cypher in the number one contender match, he ended the 252-day reign of Matthias Sin. Not only did he do that, but he managed to defeat two incredibly game competitors. Summer Page, who is still on her journey chasing her first XWF title, managed to beat her and managed to defeat Solomon Klein. Again, we've mentioned him going on his Rookie of the Year campaign, trying to beat the best in the business. Justin York, too formidable, too unbeatable, managed to not only beat Matthias, not only beat Summer Page, not only beat that, but all of these victories in a row. And the entire time he has been defiantly calling out Thaddeus Duke and the way he runs this company. He has defiantly created a replacement for the Revolution title with the Maple Leafs and the Moose, and has insisted on, even though it's an XWF belt, putting his company insignia, it says PWV on the XWF belt, as if encroaching territorially on the XWF space. If there's one guy who has the audacity right now in the Fed to go against anybody, it's Justin York. On the flip side, you have allegedly Michael Graves. I'm pretty sure it's Michael Graves. I'm gonna come out and say we can remove the allegedly. I'm pretty sure that guy is. I just believe him. I just think he's Michael Graves, and I'm confident that he's a straight shooter. He has held the XWF title for almost as long as he's held the Anarchy title for almost as long as Sin held his. But if York has proved anything, it's that he doesn't give a fuck how long you've held a belt. He will take it from you anyway. So I think this is going to be a good one. I think this is going to be a tough one. I have no skin in the game, of course, because I am Mark Flynn and not Michael Graves. But I just got a gut feeling. I think Flynn's gonna. Graves is gonna take it. I think Graves is gonna sneak it out.
Well, it's not a bad bet because you're talking about, okay, so knocking off Sin, which was again huge, and ending that reign. It's a bit of a different animal, right? When we're talking about the alleged, quote unquote, the alleged. It's clearly Michael Graves, and what what this reign has been has to be the most dominant Anarchy champion of all time, in my opinion. And then also, what is this guy second in ELO presently, and has been currently.
Well, that's I don't know why. I'll have to talk to the ELO guy because he seems to have gotten Flynn's numbers, which doesn't make any sense because they're two different people. But if we use ELO's faulty math, yes, he's currently the number 2 in ELO.
But to your credit, what you're talking about Justin York, I mean, a guy who, again, not has come out of nowhere, but I mean, he's the current star of the month for a reason, with the work that he's put up. And wow, I sort of a dream contest here. We've got the Revolution champion challenging for the Anarchy championship, and imagine if he were to walk away with that, and put his company's insignia on that belt. Wow, I think there might be some riots in the street. Thunder Knuckles, you got any thoughts on this one?
I do. I think it is a fucking stain on the Anarchy Championship that Michael Graves, allegedly, is the Anarchy champion. I think if anybody could do it, it could be York. And with that said, I'm going with York.
I mean, not a bad call. Corey Smith, what say you?
I guess I'm more interested in like what are the implications of this match if York wins and becomes a double champion. Did they really address that at all or no?
No, I don't think that's really been addressed. I mean, if he takes the Anarchy title, there's what are we going to do to stop the guy from holding both belts?
The rules.
The rules. It would be unprecedented for sure.
I mean, I think I would like to see. I would like to see York win just to see what would happen. Honestly, but allegedly Michael Graves has been just such a huge machine. Just cranking out entertaining Anarchy promo after entertaining Anarchy promo. It's hard to bet against him at this point with that much momentum behind him. Sorry TK, as much as you hate Michael Graves, I think I'm gonna have to give it to Gravy.
Hobo Town, stand up. I mean, yeah. Hey, so the other guy was skin in this game, Justin York. So your thoughts on this match?
Oh man, this match is crazy. When I seen the booking, my immediate first thought was, "Fuck me." Graves is man, his reign's crazy. His work is fucking incredible. Like it's definitely a tall mountain to climb. It goes back to my first match with James Shark when I came back to the XWF. It always seems to be these moments where I kind of taper off and falter a little bit against the topper echelon of talent. But it's a challenge I'm looking forward to. Was looking forward to it since the minute it was announced. In regards to being double champ, that sounds pretty goddamn good to me. But in my opinion, I think it's pretty unlikely, and I'm gonna give Graves the nod in this one.
Classy move, but don't undersell yourself. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're one of only two people thus far to go ahead and to post their work. And buddy, you did anything if not rise to the occasion. I think with that role play, I know Michael Graves, and I know he's going to want to match that energy. And so I know we're probably looking at one of the sneakier sort of match of the night contenders here. Me, just if a gun to my head, it's hard to bet against Gravy. Just kind of like what Corey said. I'm going to give the slight edge to Graves here. There's but by God, if there's a time for the title to change hands, it's going to be at Rebellion.
I completely agree with you. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to win, but I think it's a tall mountain to climb.
Definitely, I don't want to be in your shoes. Glad I'm not. Look, guys, we've gotten all the way through this card. We're down to the last match, the main event. This is one that's been building for some time. The XWF Universal Championship. The reigning defending champion, James Shark, versus the challenger, Charlie Nichols. 2 out of 3 falls. If a third fall is necessary, it's going to be a ladder match. Flynn, let's hear it.
This is a big one. So on the one side, if you some of these matches, as we've called, have been like two completely opposite forces. We talked about like Francis McDormand and Tatiana Jolie, Francis Marigold, being completely different people. The crazy thing about James Shark and Charlie Nichols is the similarity between these two guys. We're talking about two guys with deep family issues that like have, as they are succeeding at the highest level possible at their career, are dealing with family tumult, are just like obviously James Shark currently on trial for a very nasty divorce, attempting his ex-wife has accused him of kidnapping their daughter, has managed to, as this is going on, as he has been transported from event to event by the county jail, by police officers, making sure he remains in their custody when he's not competing. He has found a way to win the biggest belt of them all, the XWF Universal Championship. He's managed to defeat Sebastian Everett Bryce. He's managed to wrest control of the XWF Universal title from Prince Adieme. He beat him so hard he changed his name back to Isaiah King. And from there, he managed to defeat Yelena Gorgo, who we've mentioned Black Rainbow so many times. We've mentioned that this would be a very different podcast if at Mayday, Gorgo had managed to defeat James Shark. This would be wall to wall. We'd be talking about how these matches have implications on Black Rainbow's dominance. Instead, we're talking about how Black Rainbow needs to recover, because while Kieran King and Mark Flynn in that match were battling over who should rise up to defeat Black Rainbow, James Shark just went and did it. James Shark just managed to defeat an incredibly competent Yelena Gorgo, and has managed to secure the XWF while his personal life is in tatters. On the flip side of the coin, you've got Charlie Nichols, who is possibly the most anguished man in the company in terms of his children. Tyler and Emily no longer speak to him. His wife has left him. His illegitimate daughter, Latina Submiss Machina, is dead. Not presumed dead, is definitely dead at Charlie's hands. And he has been on this mission to redeem that loss in an effort to justify. First of all, he's taken to psychotically blaming the company rather than himself for murdering her, but moreover has taken on this holy journey to become Universal Champion to justify his loss of his daughter. You're talking about two people who, on the journey to the top, have lost themselves, have lost everything. And these guys have split the two matches that they have faced off. James has taken one, Charlie's taken one. I think if we're talking about Charlie Nichols and his legacy, if we're talking, the one thing that has evaded Charlie, I believe for a while, I believe he still has the longest television title reign of all time. The thing that has evaded Charlie his entire career has been the Universal title. And when you're talking about people he's faced for the Universal title, we're talking about some of the best that have ever done it. We're talking about Alias. We're talking about Chronic Chris Page. We're talking you can't hold it against Charlie, the fact that he's come up short against the level of talent he has. The difference this time is that when you're talking about Alias, everybody has a losing record against Alias. Against Sarah Loughlin, he was also the underdog. We're talking about a David versus Goliath situation. Against James Shark, this time the score is completely even. If Charlie's going to do it, he's going to do it this time. This is another one where I don't know if I can make a prediction. It entirely comes down to which one of these guys delivers. I have seen James Shark murder people that I thought were unkillable. I've also seen, not as often, I'm not saying it's a coin flip, but I've also seen him when the chips are down, he can come up short. Charlie is another one of those guys where when he is clicking, he is clicking. There are also times where, so this one is entirely who meets the gravity of the situation, who decides that this is their moment. And I don't think that's the sort of thing I could possibly predict. That's entirely going to come down to who posts what. And knowing both these guys, they're going to both post right at deadline. So we're going to find out the moment that it's time.
Yeah, agreed. And man, going back and talking about Charlie just a little bit. That match against Sarah Lackland, Charlie was relatively new in the company when he came in, and Lackland was at the time one of those unkillables, right? But he took her to her absolute limit. Then in the same round when he got to face Chris Page was on a monumental run with the Universal title, one of the more fascinating ones I think we've ever seen in the company. And Charlie again took Chris Page to his absolute limit. Alias, I mean, geez, yeah, you've already said it. Everyone has a losing record against the guy. I look at this sort of these two. You've really put it brilliantly. They're kind of the same in that the family dynamics, the torture that they've both endured, the loss, but at the same time, Charlie killed LSM. Fuck you, Charlie, for doing that. I hate your guts for that, you piece of. Never mind. Anyhow, Thunder Knuckles. What are you thinking?
All right. I think both guys can talk some really good shit. And for me, that is my heart. You know what I mean? If you can talk some good shit, I'm going to read your work. But on the flip side versus Sarah Lackland, failure. Charlie Nichols versus Chronic Chris Page, failure. Charlie Nichols versus Alias, failure. Charlie Nichols versus Alias and Ryan Keto, failure. What makes me say Charlie Nichols is going to win? What? Anybody? No? Okay, fine.
Well, hold on. I missed that last
This
bit.
time I think
What do you think's going to happen?
I'm just pointing out Charlie is a failure.
Oh, okay.
Complete and utter failure. What makes me think that Charlie would win? I don't know. But I'm taking him. This time I'm taking him.
Interesting.
Don't be a failure, Charlie.
Can't let TK down, Charlie.
Mm-mm.
Corey Smith, what are you thinking?
I mean, first off, thank you, Mark, for the rundown of the family dynamics and how they're mirrored here. I think that's a really salient point, really interesting point. Again, this is a really tough one to call. I want Charlie to win it. Like, I want him to win it because, like you guys have pointed out, he's come so close so many times. I want him to take it. I don't know that he will, but I think just on the basis of me wanting it, I'm gonna try to want that into reality, and go for Charlie.
I like it. Justin York, what are you thinking about this match?
I'm thinking this match is fucking insane. But both guys are on pretty incredible runs right now, in my opinion. I think it's kind of like the Cinderella story for Charlie. It's his moment to win. If it's going to happen, it's got to be now. With that being said, watching James Shark's evolution from the time I come in, from him whooping my ass to where he's at now, I just think he's too much to handle, not only for Charlie, but for most anyone right now. So I'm going to go ahead and predict that James Shark retains the Universal title and continues on a devastating run.
Look, I mean, it's not a bad pick. I'd be hard pressed almost not to roll with the champ here. I mean, James Shark has, to my surprise, which doesn't really amount to anything, but has genuinely shocked me with just how biting and how consistent he is with his trash talk. and the story is really a fun read when you get into it. I like the guy's work an awful lot. I think he's been probably, Flynn was talking about, him toppling, the writing was on the wall for Gorgo to sort of come in and swoop, the power away, the XWF take the Universal title and put an absolute stranglehold on the Federation in the name of the Black Rainbow. And James Shark, it's easy. Here's the cliche, right? It's easy to win a title. It's harder to defend it. I walked into that one thinking that, okay, I think Gorgo's going to win, and Shark showed that he can not only win a title but defend it successfully, which is something the uni's kind of hot potatoed around a little bit here recently, and he held his ground. With all that said, it's time, Charlie. I'm going to wheel this thing for you. It's time. I'm picking Charlie Nichols to walk away with the Universal Championship. Wow. So we got through the card. We were promised.
Can I have a timeout here?
Yeah.
Just
let's do timeout.
the lead up for the Universal Championship has been really good.
Yes.
As much as I wanted to shit on Charlie, there's things that we missed. So those two leading up into this pay-per-view, the story is pretty good. So if you get the time and want to go back through the shows, give that a read. It's been pretty good.
Well, it has too. And Flynn, would you mind sort of, because I know you worked really closely with both these guys in terms of developing this feud and the work really that's gone into building James Shark through this, sort of an improbable run he's had with the uni. Would you mind talking about, maybe peel back the curtain a little bit, talk about that, what that process has been like for you, working with two really talented guys who are both very eager and hardworking.
So I have this has been entirely in Charlie and James's hands. Has been I will tell you, I worked with James trying to get him over back when he was television champion, trying to sell the outlaw nature of it, with Peter Principle effectively trying to bar James from coming to the show at all. Basically trying to lock him out, trying to have security prevent him from accessing the show. At which point, Thaddeus Duke made a call and was like, "No, he's too much money. Like, let him in." And Peter was like, "No, he's gonna hit me." And Thad was like, "I've already let him in." At which point, Peter headed to the ring, and James elbowed him in the skull, and I believe injured his questionable level of injury to his ankle. He started to show up with a pair of crutches. Crutches is the word. So in terms of this, in terms of the setup, as TK was referring to, Charlie has been showing up to Warfare, showing up occasionally with James's music, and has said he's going to kill James, is going to murder him. He has stolen James's belt at Mayday, and has insisted that he is in fact the Universal Champion. When he opted into the show, he said, "I guess champions don't get time off in to defend," acting like this is his belt to defend rather than James's. While this is effective psychology, just like we're saying, if Charlie wins, this will be the apex of what has been a lengthy career in the XWF. This will be him securing the Universal Championship legitimately. By the same token, and what was referred to previously, James just got rid of his own black mark, which is the idea that he was running through picking up belts, but actually had no ability to defend them. He lost the TV title on his first defense. He lost the Extreme title on his first defense. Just as was not only was the writing potentially on the wall because of how dominant Gorgo appeared, James also, while facing an incredibly game opponent, had to get the monkey off his back that he had not successfully defended any of these belts that he had secured, and he's finally done it now that he's successfully defended once against Gorgo. But It's going to be a real challenge. Uh, Shark has to find it in himself to beat somebody that has proven he can beat him. Uh, the difference there, I think James benefited from the fact that he'd never faced Gorgo before, didn't know he was supposed to be afraid of her, and managed to sort of similar to how if you don't know that you should fear a shark and you just punch it in the face and it swims away, you win. Very similarly, James Shark this time knows exactly what threat he's facing. And he's facing somebody that has an incredible sense of psychology that seems to be playing Shark to get exactly in his head to set him up for loss. So we're going to see if Charlie has perfectly tuned in the setup that TK was referring to, if in all these mind games he's set up Shark to lose, or if Shark is going to pull it off in spite of these mind games.
Yeah, I mean that's really good color there. You made me think about something that I meant to mention earlier when we talked about this match, because we brought up Summer Page earlier in the program, I wanted to bring up what a gaping hole it was for the card not to see Summer here, but the end of Anarchy, the go home to this rebellion. I mean, Charlie took Summer Page out. I mean, in a really dastardly act, and that's nothing if not Charlie Nichols, the sort of the master at the mind games. Switching out the rebellion poster with his own face because he deems himself the universal champion. This is going to be an absolute heater. What a way to cap off what's an incredible card that we've run through. Let me just take a moment to thank our guests tonight, the January Star of the Month, Madison Dyson, who I keep calling Corey Smith. It's interchangeable. It's the engineer. Corey, just quickly, if I could, I mean, we're talking about a Hall of Famer here, first ballot Hall of Famer, who I might be mistaken in thinking that you're the only person in XWF history to win a Universal Championship with 3 different characters. And on top of that, being if I'm not mistaken, still the longest reigning Universal Champion of all time. Flynn, that's correct, isn't it? The engineer is
That is correct.
By maybe a cup of coffee over, I think, maybe Robert Maine or
Exactly.
yeah. Corey, a class act, a great friend, someone who's really helped sort of inspire my riding, helped me improve over the years. Proud tag team partner with you. Any final thoughts? Any sort of someone as talented as you are? Any, I guess, maybe words of advice or anything you want to sort of impart on the listeners here?
Sorry, kind of losing my voice. No, I thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope that this is the renewal of something that becomes a regular. Um, and yeah, just in brief, just thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Flynn or TK, anything you want to sort of say to Corey before he signs off?
Anything I want to say to Corey?
Yeah.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for, let's see. There was a really good RP you did that I'm trying. Oh, War Games 2021. I really liked working with you. Your second RP was really good.
For our most recent Star of the Month, Justin York, a guy who's come in and just sort of caught the Fed by surprise, in my opinion, caught me by surprise. I first read your shoot and thought this is a guy who sort of fits in our mode here really well. And you've ran with that. You knocked off the longest reigning Revolution champion, and I think the sky's the limit for you, Justin. And just thank you again for being a part of the show tonight. What a way to reintroduce the podcast to XWF. So, any final words for you, Justin, before we depart?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. It was a great time. It was fun to go over the Rebellion card. It was one of the things I've been looking forward to. about this podcast. And in closing, I'll shoot a quick and massive thank you to TK for picking me in your prediction, and I hope to do right by you. Best of luck to everybody on the Rebellion card. And yeah, once again, thanks for having me, guys. It was a great time.
Absolutely. Flynn, TK, any final thoughts for Mr. York?
Mhm.
Mr. King, welcome into the program here on the back half. Maybe we'll call this the fun half, even though I think we've all had a blast tonight going through the card for Rebellion, which is essentially what we've done. We've previewed, we've talked ad nauseum about this incredible card, which could only be better if you were on it, if you weren't busy with real life and important things. Teasing, of course, but there were a couple of questions that were lobbed at the start of the months from sort of some sneaky questionnaires I laid out for some folks. So first off, question directed to you from Atara Themis, directed toward Alias. Why a Minotaur, and why was he salmon colored?
That was just nonsense shit that I was coming up with, because Alias was, especially at first, was a nonsense character for me. I used him back in 2008 or something like that as kind of he wasn't a jobber or a joke character, but as one that I could just fuck around with without any luggage, any baggage of the Lee Stone character that I was using at that time. Kieran King hadn't even come into existence. And so I just used them to do shitty, whatever I wanted to do, RPs, just here and there. And so then when I came back during the COVID lockdowns that I was very, very locked down, I figured I was just going to flake. And so I thought I'd just bring that character back in. So I was just making shit up as I went along. And then that stuck. And the whole character stuck. So, yeah, it wasn't supposed to become what it became. The whole character.
Yeah, I can imagine it. I mean, it's got to be the equivalent to, like Flynn for you, if, War Criminal, which I think would have had taken off and just become, a really dominant force in XWF. What a time for a sticking point for Alias. I remember the first time seeing your work was in that, I guess it was at a battle royal where Thad won the Universal title, but if I'm not mistaken, Alias was the runner-up in that match. Maybe I'm mistaken there.
No, you're correct.
No, the runner-up was it was 3 people eliminated all at once, which was Chris Page, Corey Smith, and Fuzz, who was under a mask, Sean Warstein. Doc and I both went out just before that, but both Doc and I hadn't done the full 6 RPs. And so we had done pretty good work, but I don't even know if I'd gotten up a 6th. Thad was in white hot form at that time. And I was definitely just coming back in, so I don't think that would have made a difference. They had justifiably won. But yeah, Doc and I went out just before that final group.
Yeah, I mean that was the moment that I think really Alias arrived. I mean, what a big time match that was, and it was sort of the writing I think was on the wall that you were going to be, that you were serious, and you were here to really to do some good work that you ended up doing. One of the most impressive Universal title reigns ever. A couple more questions that were lobbed to the other Star of the Months that I just want to get your take on. This was from Ned K, and in Ned K fashion, it's a deep one. What do you find to be the toughest aspect in writing longer form story arcs?
That is a good question. The biggest thing is motivation to keep things going. But the other part, particularly relevant to the XWF, is having space for it to link to the Fed as well, to what's going on, because it's very easy to go and, well, not very easy, but it's easier to go and write a story about your character and have your own side characters in the mix, and then you control everything that's going on. But to be able to then have whatever your long-term arc is, and it might be happening away from the ring, but to be able to bring that back to respond to things that happen within the XWF shows, be it Anarchy, be it Warfare, be it pay-per-views, be it whatever. That's the really tough part. And when you can start doing that well, that's when you'll really start seeing a lot more success come up. Because if you go back to how our RP is graded, the rubric is public. There's a relevance section there. And so some people can write some excellent stories, and I've seen this. But for XWF today, you get even better if you can bring that back to the Fed in some way. And that's where you see people like Mark Flynn, who's here on the call. Everything he does is targeted at that. A lot of the work that Madison Dyson has been doing, Corey's just left us, but really, really targeted at that and really hit some of that. So that would be my advice to anybody looking at things. Even the stuff that I did within the King of the XWF tournament, both this year and last year, because I did the whole medieval theme stuff, I got to really hit the characters in that tournament as well to make it really as relevant as I could. So yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice there.
Yeah, and leave it up to you to bring up, I think, a part that when we discussed this earlier, that we kind of, I guess, didn't really talk about, because a lot of the conversation was geared toward, it's hard to do the long-term story planning at times because, life happens and people, that you're working with might drop off. But you brought up the interesting point, which is a real one, and I agree with you. Folks like Flynn, like yourself, like Dyson, are really good at involving their own sort of characters that they create through their stories and keeping them, relevant through the long-term arc in the XWF. And I think it's a brilliant point. And I totally agree. Yeah. I've got one more question for you from Aurora, the lovely Aurora. Let me grab it here. And that question was, what's one match that stuck with you personally through your career?
If we go with the more recent, I guess, since I brought Alias back, it's the first Mayday with Doc. I think the two of us put on a show, even in the past version of this podcast, that match and the Alias just getting over the line there, then has kind of set the stage for Alias to then be elevated to the main event scene. But also between those two characters, just by having that match, right, when Relentless rolled around, there was no work that was needed to put those two back into the against each other again. And I think that could happen now. You could just pull out any show and you say, all right, Alias, Doc, there is no build-up needed. There is nothing. The stakes are as high as they can be already when those two characters get put across each other. And so I think it all comes back to that match. If I went way back to the older days, there's two that would stand out. And one was Lee Stone versus T-Money, Hall of Legends member T-Money, the best trash talker that I've ever seen in e-fitting. That was the match that put Lee Stone, or got him the Universal title. But then going back before that, actually there's probably two going back before that. One was when Lee Stone first beat Steve Jason, and before that when Lee Stone first beat Jem Williams. Those were two matches that then said, hey, Lee Stone is here. He's up there with the best of the best, because Steve Jason is kind of considered the guy, the Hulk Hogan almost of XWF, but Jem Williams was his Randy Savage. So knocking them both off in the span of about a month really solidified that I had gotten there as a writer to be able to compete with anybody.
Oh man, absolutely. What I wouldn't have loved to have been a fly on the wall or engaged or in the XWF at that time, because when I hear you talk about those folks, you and Satirian have really brought a lot of color to that era, and James Raven to some extent, who's not around much anymore. Uh, Man, it seems like that was just such a competitive time in the Fed, and what I wouldn't have loved to have been around back then. But back to that, what you're talking about, that match with Doc at Mayday, couldn't say it any better. That is 100% a match that you could book today, and it's in my opinion, depending on your preferred flavor of tea, you're looking at in my opinion, a Mount Rushmore sort of contest there with Space Jesus and Doc. You guys always delivered. You delivered it at Relentless that year following Mayday, but that first matchup really set that stage. And kudos to you both, and kudos to you for pulling that one out. I guess real quick, Flynn or TK, anything you guys want to sort of editorialize on with Mr. Alias, with Mr. King here?
See, now I feel bad because I had made a practice when people were departing or when I was asked to say something to people, I was going to compliment, but everyone else is complimenting Alias stuff. There was a specific promo. First of all, Kieran King's Madness run is incredibly underrated. And one of my favorite feuds that probably gets forgotten because nobody read Madness, but the go-between during the Record Profits era when Mark Flynn was Universal Champion, Kieran King and Flynn had an incredibly petty feud over who had the most views on the most watched Madness promo of all time. And Kieran's wasn't even Kieran's promo. He had paid someone, I believe a Bolivian bellhop, to artificially inflate the views of Lexi Gold. This is all to say, you are an incredibly creative individual, and I am infinitely jealous of your ability to bullshit and make stories up.
Thanks. I really liked that stuff that we did. As you know, I just reached out when I was bringing Kieran in, like, hey, want to come beat Kieran King on Madness? And you're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Which is great because I offered that to another Universal Champion a year or so later, I think, and they declined.
What the fuck? That's disrespectful.
They didn't want to come into.
Don't name names, but after this, please name names.
Absolutely hilarious. Anyway.
But look, I tried with Madness. Obviously, Thad was doing a lot there. Vinny was doing a lot there. There were a few others that were, but people were very much. A lot of people were wrapped up in their own stories there, and I was really trying. If Kieran King was in a storyline on Madness, he was losing it. That was the end goal, was always to get him to lose it. He'd have to win to get that to mean anything. But I was really trying. That was probably the height of my Twitter usage, because I was trying to get some of those stories over and get people looking. There was just some people were better collaborators than others, though. And Mark, you were absolutely one of the best collaborators.
Thank you. I will say yeah. I mean, I read all of Madness, but I read all of everything, and the highlights were frequently what you were doing. And you did manage in at least my reading to get Jackie O'Lantern over, which is a real feat, probably the biggest accomplishment on your resume.
I think Jackie was easier to get over, and so Jackie O'Lantern was handled by Lexi Gold, and they were an example of somebody who was a good collaborator. There were people there that were good collaborators, and yeah, that handler, absolutely one of them. Can't say enough good things about them.
Hell yeah.
See, and I've got to go back, and I hadn't really, I guess I wasn't in tune with the Madness era. I think I was actually kind of away when all that was happening. But when I got to write you guys for Mayday and was going back trying to do some research on your previous encounter on that, my blood was pumping as I sort of was like figuring out what had happened and the feud between the two that I didn't even really realize existed. And yeah, you guys put on a show and put on a show again at Mayday here recently. Real quick, so the guys, we've all gone through the card, Mr. King, for Rebellion. If you'd like, I'm happy to run through it again. But if not, is there anything that you're looking forward to, or any sort of words that you want to bring up about any of the specific handlers on the show, or any specific matchups? I mean, it's a monstrous card. We've got the Universal title with James Shark and Charlie. We've got allegedly Graves and Justin York, them No Good Bastards and Scoops from GG. We've got the TV title with Jake Borden and Lucy Wilde, who I know Jake's near and dear to your heart as well as mine, but he got dragged through the mud on this program, and I don't know if I'll ever forgive Flynn for it. Of course, there's the tag team championship with Seb and King against Dyson and Waters. I mean, anything in particular you are looking forward to, or would like to talk about?
That tag title match, Dyson and Waters, Seb and Isaiah King, that's got money printed all over it. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that plays out. I'm interested in seeing how some of the newer names get on, seeing what sort of first promos people like Dr. Holly Cambrick drop, and Damien Santos and Francis Marigold. Those are names that I haven't seen.
Marigold just made me hard again.
So I haven't seen anything there yet, so I'm interested to see how that pans out. Always exciting to get new blood. The Universal title, fuck Charlie Nichols, so go James Shark. But that again, that'll be a big time match. I think, are they one apiece? Am I right on that?
They are right. One apiece.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So that's good shit. And seeing Thaddeus Duke jump onto the card as well against Enigma, that's going to be interesting. Return of Crimson Klein as well, who's obviously the handler's been around for a little bit, but that character dates back to a little bit after when I showed up first, back in the 2000s. So that's cool. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of implications rolling into, we talked about the summer lineup coming up, Leap of Faith after this, and of course the big monster that is Relentless, that's staring all of us down. Couldn't say more good things about you, Mr. King. For those who don't know, the man's taking busy time out of his busy schedule to join us here in the midst of a pretty monumental moment in his life. And just I want to thank you for not just joining tonight and being the great guy that you are, who's really helped me a lot in my writing and helped me improve. Someone who would do that for anyone, and someone who does a lot of work for the XWF, and has been just I think a great not just person in general, but a great steward for the federation. So thanks again for joining, and thanks for being a part of this this reboot of the podcast that I'm looking forward to keeping rolling.
Thank you for having me on. TK, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you guys got it all covered.
I think there's one thing that's missing.
Oh.
One final line. I think we know what it is. So on behalf of the stars of the month that joined us, on behalf of Mr. Mark Flynn, on behalf of Thunder Knuckles, and behalf of the entire XWF, thank you for listening. And as always, fuck you, Ghost Tank. Good night, everyone. See you next time.